From Ohio's haylofts and tool sheds, driveways and blacktops where future legends practice buzzer beaters under dimly lit mercury lights, it's the show that covers all things high school basketball. Here is Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And now, two guys whose blood runs icier at the free throw line than this frigid Ohio January. OHSAA Hall of Fame coaches and your hosts, Doug and Dave Kraus.
Frigid is it indeed, Ryan, and that's really almost the theme of our beginning of this show. You know, we are as coaches and teams they like routines. You know, they want to be in practice at 3 o'clock after school, and get in and out and do your job. But all of a sudden, the weather affects that plan, so you got to maybe go to Plan B once. The weather hits and schools are canceled. So Doug, what do you remember about when that situation happened for you and your teams?
Well, first of all, we had to find out if we were allowed to be in there. Once we did, we tried to practice every day, obviously, and if it was bad weather due to roads, we told our guys in the country, you stay home and we don't need you here. Although most of them made it up about every time. There weren't too many times we had kids miss out. Guys in towns, we're going to be here. There's no reason for you not to be here. As far as cold weather like this, once again, we had to get the permission to be in here, and most of the time we did, and we practiced, depending on whether or not we were early or late. We usually had a schedule already planned between us and the girls program, and we worked it out. But so we kept our routine. Now, you were out in the country. It might be a little bit more difficult for you.
Well, everybody, yeah, exactly where we're located, in any rural country school like Patrick Henry, Evergreen, schools like that, sometimes schools canceled, we didn't practice. And that was quite often at times. We really had to make sure the roads were clean because so many of our players would live not accessible to a main road. So that was always an adventure and a concern of making sure they got there safe and home safe. So, we were at the mercy of what our people told us to do and what we couldn't do. But I think equally as important in a situation like that is once you have to lose games and cancel games, finding the way to reschedule them. Now that's a headache.
It certainly is. As a former athletic director, I can vouch for that. And anytime you have to make up a ball game, it's not easy. It's you got a lot of variables that go into it. You got your gym schedule or the other team's gym schedule, whoever is hosting. You got you have travel arrangements. You got buses. You got to get ranged. The whole 9 yards. It can be a mess, and you got to find a date that is equal for both of them. That's the first start.
And maybe even finding officials that could be available as well. So yeah, it is a mess. So for the ADs out there going through this right now this week, hey, good luck to you fellas.
Hey, that's why you get paid the big bucks.
All right, fellas, let's get started with the program today. What do you have for our rundown for today's program?
Yeah, looking forward to today's program. We have a couple of seniors in our spotlight. We have Libbie Baker from Hilltop and Archbold Sonny Phillips that we're looking forward to chatting with. Along our coaches' corner, a couple of coaches are doing a great job with their squads. Kelsey Gillen from Delta and Kris Lymanstall from Tinora. And then we're going to bring in some chat about some of our our ex-high school kids who are playing in college. And we're going to bring in Jagger Landers from Antwerp, who is now at the University of Findlay, going to give us his input on the college level and the differences between high school and so forth. Looking forward to the show. Got some good people that we're going to be chatting with.
Good deal. Let's go ahead and get started with our Coach's Corner.
I want to welcome head coach Kelsey Gillen to our Coach's Corner. Kelsey, how are we doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. Looking forward to it. Your Lady Panthers, we had the opportunity to watch them last week. You're looking good, 15-0 overall, 3-0 in the conference, and just a solid squad. Let's get on with it. Kelsey, why don't you give us some info on your background? When did your interest in sports start, and how'd you get into your present position as the head lady of the Panthers?
Yeah, it started early on. I was a sport athlete here at Delta High School. Played from youth on up, and did volleyball, basketball, softball, and track here. Then went on to Bluffton College. It was still a college at the time, and played basketball and started coaching at that time frame for Bluffton High School softball. And it just grew from there. Came back after graduating and coached a year under Bill Steck at Evergreen for softball. And then came back to Delta and coached some basketball under Chad Smith. Then I took a little bit of time off. I guess I coached softball then after Evergreen for a year, but then I took some time off and stayed at home with my kids for a little bit. We've got 5 of them, so they kept me busy on their own.
I guess so.
Got your own team at home.
Yeah. And continued to coach them through some different sports in the youth years. Then I was able to, when Ripke was coaching, I was able to coach under him at the youth level. The current junior class, I coached them from 4th grade through 7th grade. Then Ripke had stepped down and I was able to step into that position.
Well, Coach, you and I have a similarity that we both have ended up in coaching at alma mater, so talk to me about, how that experience has been for you.
It always has its ups and downs, but overall, I have enjoyed it. Everyone in the community, they're going to agree with you some moments and disagree with you on other things, but that's going to be with any aspect of coaching. We don't all coach the same, but the support that I have had through the community has been great.
Well, that's good to hear.
Great.
And let's kind of focus on this team, 15-0, off to an unbelievable start. Give us some things that you really, really like about your team currently.
They're a great group of girls. They just work so well together. A lot of fun to be around. They know when we can joke around and have a good time, yet when we've got to shut that down and get serious and get to work. They just are a very coachable group of girls. You ask them to do something and they're going to give it their best.
Yeah. So as you into this bulk of the season now, because you've got some huge games coming forward, what are some things that you feel your team really has to get better at and shore up as you enter this tough stretch of your season?
Yeah, we always will have some things to work on. Continuing to pick up that defense. It's been able to carry us this far, but there's always some key aspects that you got to work on. Finishing, we get lots of steals and fast breaks. Got to continue to work on finishing those, and that commitment to rebounds.
Well, Kelsey, looking at your squad, you have a really nice mixture of some veterans and along with some youth. So did they all mesh together fairly quickly? And if so, what was the key to bringing that along?
They meshed right away. We've got a number of girls who have played soccer together for years. And then again, some of them have played volleyball together. We've got this group of girls just all along, they just click really well, regardless of whether they're hanging out outside of school or with the team. They just, they click well. We knew this summer going in when we got them together the first couple times that we knew once it really clicked, when they really got to know each other in the sense of basketball, it was going to be a good team.
Well, very good. That's always nice to have that great camaraderie. I always thought that was a huge key to any team success. How about this, though? I think another interesting thing about your squad, and we kind of talked a little bit about it after your game with the Streaks there a week ago. Your team has 3 young ladies who are daughters of coaches. And, they're talking about the late Corey Sprout, who we are good friends with, and, of course, yourself and your assistant coach, Jeremy Lohman, as well. how has that been a factor in your success of this squad? Does that play a factor?
I think it does to an aspect. Jeremy and I have actually coached together at the youth level when we were coaching under Ripke's teams at the youth level. So I knew I worked well with him. Him being a Delta grad as well, I've known him growing up. And he did coach under Corey as well. So to me, that was an important aspect for Kendall's senior season, is to be able to bring him back on. So all three girls, they definitely work hard. There's going to be those moments where I need Coach Lohman to talk to my daughter, or I've got to talk to his. Sometimes you have to have those moments because it is difficult at times having that. This is mom and I want to, or dad, and I want to react this way to him, but it's within a team. So I have to shut it down for a minute and listen to them as a coach.
No, that's definitely a must, because I've been in those same shoes. I know exactly what you're referring to. What about your time in coaching basketball on the girls' side? What changes have you seen along the way?
That's a tough one. Overall, it just really depends on the heart of the players that you're working with, and them wanting to be coachable and listen, and how badly they want it. You're always going to have groups of athletes that vary. Some of them are going to just be there because it's something to do. And I'll take any athlete. I love to have kids out and competing in sports because of the life lessons that it brings you.
Sure.
And so, as far as changes and things, there's not something that necessarily sticks out in my head. It's just continuing to teach these kids these life lessons through the sport.
That's a great philosophy and a great motive and why as you're into this career. But what about if you weren't teaching and coaching? What career path might have you chosen?
I don't know. I'm not 100% on that. I had thought a couple different things, but early on, my heart pulled me to teaching physical education and coaching, and I just went with it, and I'm thankful I did and was given this opportunity.
Well, let's go to an easier one then. Is the Delta Gymnasium still has the label of the jungle?
It does.
Okay. So when you're not playing in the jungle and getting after it there, what might be some of your other favorite gyms that you like to, play and take your teams to?
I think anytime we're in any of the Northwest Ohio Athletic League gyms, it's just a sense of home away from home. I mean, me growing up playing in those gyms, it brings out that extra competitiveness, and then you can kind of feed that to the girls, and just being any league competition, this year especially, they just get that drive and that fire, and that desire to play with some heart.
Well, that's awesome. I always enjoyed my trips around the league as well, the different facilities. Looking at the league, and we know you have some big games coming up, and your season has gone awfully well with 15-0, but it continues on. And, of course, tournament draws are right around the corner. You got to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
Well,
It's going to be a continued battle for us, but we're looking forward to it.
Well, I would hope so. And Kelsey, again, we just want to thank you for taking the time here this afternoon to share with us. And we enjoyed watching your team last week, and we wish you all the best as you continue on.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Time for sponsors for the hour program. D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 445-5751 and ask about their mobile service. Also, Innovatech Solutions of Archbold. 419-445-8088. Your trusted technology partner, Innovatech Solutions. S&W Mills of Archbold. Proud supporters of Archbold Blue Streak Athletics and all Archbold activities. S&W Mills, 419-445-5206. And BSN Sports. BSN makes all kinds of top fan gear, things for coaches and programs and things like that. Everything your team needs to succeed. You can contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today for BSN Sports.
Want to welcome head coach Kris Lymanstall from the Tinora Rams to our Coach's Corner. Limey, how are we doing this afternoon?
Doing pretty good. Nice and warm inside. Better to be in the gym. Nice and warm place there. So we're doing all right.
You betcha. Hey, your Rams are 12-2 at this stage of the season, 3-0 in the GMC, and just doing really well. As you look at your season, just in general, what do you attribute your team's success to this season?
I think we got good leadership. We can start with those guys right there, the three seniors, Alex, Connor, and Adam. They put in a lot of time in the off season, and if you have good leaders, you got guys that follow, and we've put a big point of emphasis at the defensive end this year, and there's a lot of buy-in. And I've said this, I think, over and over again, where we've sacrificed probably some of our other areas of our game just so we could improve on that end.
Oh, very good. Kris, looking back, what was your inspiration for you to get into the coaching field?
Oh, boy. I could probably write a book on this.
Well, let's hear your book in a short version. Right.
So probably it all starts, when I'm young, seeing great people with Coach Lehman and always wanting to play for him. And Coach Ronald's been a big influence on me. I can always talk to him whenever I need him. Of course, Coach Wayne, he's always there, always there to talk, give advice, talk you off the ledge if you need to. Just a great. And then I think the biggest thing that I've always paid attention to was just the coaches in the area. I mean, you two were big influences. A lot of people probably don't know they were, but just going to games, watching guys, how they interact with their teams, just talk to their players. I got a lot of admiration for the guys that came before me. And I'd say there's a lot of good guys out there today that I have a lot of respect for and the work they put in.
Well, that's awesome. And, you mentioned about maybe going against seeing our teams play. I remember you were in the gym here at Archbold one night when your Rams came to Archbold and absolutely put one on the Streaks back in, I think it was 2009, and
yep.
it was a feast of Rams that night. It was like, I think we had 17 points for the game, if you remember that night.
Yes, I do. I remember it very well. And that team was a great defensive club. They had a lot of length, which, is not something we have often, but I think we used it well back then. I want to say we were probably due against you, so it doesn't happen that often. So we're gonna take our spoils that night.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was very impressive. And I look back at that. The worst thing about that overall was not the worst thing, but you guys got to Columbus that year and you got to the state championship game that year. But the worst part of that was, that was great. But the worst part was seeing our name in the program getting absolutely blitzed by that score. That was tough to see.
Yeah.
But, we deserved it.
Yeah. That was a fun ride. And, as much as you remember, and I'm sure you guys both can attest to this, you remember a lot of the games and a lot of the moments in the games, but I think the memories you take with is like the experiences you had with the kids and the community, and like how great the support is for your kids and the staff and everything that all goes into it. Those are the little things that really, really you take with you.
Well, Kris, you talk about the emphasis this year and the progress you've made defensively. I remember I watched your game earlier this season. I was impressed with your offense. I thought you moved the ball well. You ran some good stuff. What's the origin of how that's all developed?
Well, I think we wanted to be connected on both ends. For us to be good defensively, we got to be connected with one another. And the same thing offensively. We got to be very unselfish. We don't have the guys that can really break you down one-on-one. They sort of have to have an advantage to get to the rack or catch and shoot or, attack the bad closeout. But That's kind of where it started, just in our personnel, that we got to be connected with one another and help each other out to get each other great looks. And for the most part, other than turning the ball over, we're pretty efficient offensively.
Well, I think that's evident that you're getting things done in a connective way. The one thing that stood out to me as well is just I felt there was a level of toughness that was just really, really instrumental to what you're getting done. Again, on both ends. I mean, you're tough defensively, you're rebounding the ball. So how do you develop that mentality?
I think we can credit the seniors again. They're a tough group. They love to go through the grind, and that's just a testament to them. We've kind of tried to make a focus on practice being a lot tougher in it. Again, I'm not reinventing the wheel or anything, but it's just when you make practice a lot tougher and they're used to seeing that kind of toughness in practice and how hard it is in the grind. I think you expect it, and you kind of learn to embrace it a little bit. They love tough. They love the grind. They love challenges.
Well, you know what? That's always been a staple of the Rams over the years. The teams we used to compete against, and you obviously are continuing that. You know, one thing about Tinora on Dahmersville Road there. How about the old gym that you used to play in, the Al Moore Gymnasium? I thought that was one of the most awesome places to play game. I love playing contest in there. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, we love the friendly confines there. Just the contrast between, the gym floor and then the walls and then the beautiful beams that we had on the ceiling. It had very, very unique traits to it. And yeah, it was for opponents to come in there and have, people right on the floor.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere for Friday night games.
Yeah, I love going over there. The stage, everybody was right on top of you, the atmosphere. I love the old guys that sit down the front row. They used to holler and hoot, and boy, I'll tell you what, you knew they were there, and it was fun. It was a great facility. Now your new gym's beautiful. I love your new gym, but I loved Al Moore Gymnasium for sure.
Yeah, and the thing about the old gym is it had those memories and it made it feel like home, and that's what we're trying to do here. It's a beautiful facility. We're just trying to make those memories and give it its own identity and make it home.
As we're getting into the latter part of January here, Kris, and then February's right around the corner, and that means tournament draw. I mean, that's only a couple of weeks away on February 9th. You and your Rams are Division 5 this year. That's a whole new venture, with the 7 divisions. As I read the current Max Preps ratings in your district of 9 teams, which will be played at Napoleon, right now you and Archbold are 1 and 2.
Yep.
So, what between now and then, you got a big stretch of games. So what do you think you got to do to maintain that seeding opportunity?
Well, we're looking for more consistency offensively in terms of not turning the ball over, and we get too quick offensively. At times, it leads to turnovers or maybe some shots that aren't really connected to our offense. We kind of give in at times, so I think we got to continue to improve in that area. There was a lull defensively here for us where we weren't rebounding very well, and some of it was the opponents we had to play, and I give a lot of credit to them. But we got to get back to making sure we can end defensive possessions with rebounds on a consistent basis. But it really, in terms of points and RPIs and 1 and 2s and the ratings and stuff, we're kind of just looking at Wayne Trace right now and kind of let the chips fall where they may. Really, I think the numbers and RPI stuff, that'll take care of itself.
It certainly will.
Take care of the opponents in front of us.
You betcha. You can't do anything else except worry about yourself. And like you just said, this is kind of a big game coming up here for you Friday night. You're on the road at Wayne Trace, huge game in the league. And what's some keys as you look to go attack the Raiders on Friday?
Well, I'm sure both of you guys know that, playing Wayne Trace is no easy task in the transition game. They love to get out and pressure and get deflections. And I think that's how they've gotten their separation, from teams in the past, is their points off of turnovers. And transition threes. And if we can get them in a half court and make them run offense, and both teams are going to know each other pretty well. So if we can, look at their offensive tendencies and try to minimize their strengths, I think we got a pretty good shot.
Well, that's great, and we wish you the best in that. And Kris, we certainly thank you for taking the time this afternoon to share with us. Love talking Rams with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing your team myself here in the future. We'll see you down the stretch when you play the Streaks, and always nice chatting with you, Kris.
All right, thanks, guys. Stay warm.
You betcha. You too.
Lots of luck.
Time now once again for our sponsors. Our sponsors for Hoop Chat, D&G Welding of Archbold, 419-445-5751. You can ask them about their mobile service. That's D&G Welding of Archbold for all your welding needs. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold with a K. You can get to them at innovatechsolutions.net, or you can call them at 419-445-8088 for trusted technology needs. S&W Mills of Archbold, the proud supporters of Archbold Blue Streaks and all area athletics and students. Contact them for animal bedding needs at 419-445-5206. That's S&W Mills. And BSN Sports. Contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today for all top-notch fan gear and personalized uniforms, everything your team needs to succeed. Try and make things easier for coaches, for athletic directors, and people who need athletic equipment. Contact BSN Sports, our sponsors for Hoop Chat. Time next for our senior spotlight on Hoop Chat.
Hey, we want to welcome Libbie Baker to the Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat as part of our senior spotlight today. Libbie, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, we're doing great. A little cold, but we're managing. But we're really excited to talk to you and learn more about your Lady Cadets. So let's just kind of get into you. You're having an awesome season. Nearly 20 points a game, a double-double with 12 rebounds, 3 more assists. But more importantly, your team is 16-0. So what's been the key to your season and your team's season?
I think the key this year has been really spreading the points on the board. There's been a couple years in the past where it's kind of been on one end or the other, and this year we've gotten a lot of players involved, and that's really helped us. And I think you can tell with the 16-0 that it's working, and we're going to try and keep doing that.
Well, I would think so. That sounds good to me. How about this, Libbie? When did you get interested in playing sports, and who was your biggest influence?
I've kind of always been interested because I've got 2 twin older sisters, and I've always had to go to their sporting events, whether it's basketball, softball. They didn't do volleyball, but I got dragged into that. But I've always been interested, and they've always kept me very competitive and always wanting to compete with them and strive to be better, actually.
So you mentioned your twin sisters. I think they're a couple of years older than you. Did you not get a chance to play with them for a year, maybe your freshman year?
Yes, I did get to play with them. I played with them my freshman year, their senior year.
That had to be kind of fun, didn't it?
It was a lot of fun, other than the fact where they were always thinking that they knew what they were doing. I know they were older, but I felt like I had a good understanding of what I was doing.
There you go.
They were definitely a little harder on me than the rest, but I think it's definitely paid off.
Well, let's get into some of your likes and dislikes potentially. What do you have a certain pregame meal, Libbie, that you absolutely have to have pregame?
I'm not sure if I have a go-to pregame meal, but I do usually stop at the gas station and get a fountain pop sometimes.
Well, let's get a little pub to the gas station. That's a good thing. What about any music that you have to listen to because that's your go-to pump-up music?
My pregame music is not really very pumped up and hype. It's kind of relaxing and very zen, if I'd have to say.
Okay.
It's kind of the old country. I don't know why. It just kind of makes me lock in.
And then you wear number 13. Is that correct?
Yep.
And what's the significance of that jersey number for you?
My sister's numbers when they were little were 8 and 5. So I just had to be 13. I never really got to choose it. So it's just always been my go-to.
Well, that's awesome. I like how you include them, even though they were tough on you. How about this one? Your team is 16-0, really doing well. And the one thing I've noticed that your team has played a lot of close ball games this year. What's been some of the keys for your success in those close games, Libbie?
Some of the keys for success is we have a strong defense, and defense wins games. I think a lot of people know that. And when the games are getting close, you really have to lock in on the defense, the defensive end, and then the rest will flow on the offensive end for us. So we really just communicate and talk to each other on the defensive end when it's getting real close.
Well, I like that. And, in some video I did watch of you, I was very impressed at how well you checked out on about every shot that went up. Obviously, that's been something that's been preached to you.
Yes, it has. Sometimes I get lucky and I do get a block.
Yeah, well, you did a nice job of that, too. What I like about that is how you are nice and straight and upright as far as not trying to swat down at the ball, and you block them anyway. That's very good. That's good. Again, good way to approach that.
Coach, if we were to talk to Coach Grimm, Libbie, and say, describe Libbie's game for us, what do you think he would say?
I'd like to say he'd think I'm pretty calm, but I'm not sure if he would say that. I would say that I'm pretty calm. I think staying calm really gives the rest of my team a good vibe, per se, because if we're all worked up, then that might affect us on either end of the court. So I'd say I'd have a pretty calm, cool, and collective game.
Well, he does say that you have a very high basketball IQ and you're able to keep your team loose and practicing games. So I think you're on the same page there.
All right.
He talked to me about a toughness you have too, particularly about a game maybe a year or two ago against Hogate where something unfortunate happened to you on the floor. What can you describe that moment and what happened?
Oh, yeah. So it's my freshman year and I'm playing with my sisters. We're having a good old time. And it's getting near the end of the season, and it's actually getting near the end of when I have braces. This is key. So it's not even halftime yet, and we're on the defensive end, and a girl elbows me in my mouth, and I didn't think it was too bad. I was like, it really hurt. I walked off the court because I knew I probably wasn't going to be much help down there. And my front teeth got knocked in. My braces were the only thing holding them in. So it's a good thing I had those, but it added a couple more months onto that. But yeah, they held in, but I unfortunately had to get a fake tooth. So one of my front teeth are fake due to that. I actually went back into the game because I really wanted to.
Well, that's what Coach Grimm's memory is, that you kept badgering him and bugging him about getting back in the game. And he really didn't want to, but you wouldn't make it easy on him, so he put you back in just to kind of shut you up, he says.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I was just so mad that it was the beginning of the game when it happened because I really wanted to win. We ended up winning, so that's all that mattered, I guess.
Hey, Libbie, again, watching you do a little bit of shooting and so forth, you got a really nice-looking shot. How about on your foul shots? We haven't talked about this on our shows yet. Do you have a routine that you go through before you shoot a foul shot? Most good shooters do that. Do you have one?
I try to keep it pretty simple because if I have too long of a routine, then I think I might get in my head too much. So I try to go up there to maybe take one or two dribbles and then just follow the routine shot that I have, not a routine foul shot. Just make sure it comes off the hand right and just do the thing I know to do best.
Okay, well, that's a good thing to do. Hey, wrapping up here, what's in your future, Libbie, once you leave the hallways of Hilltop High School?
My plan right now is to attend Bowling Green for dietetics, hopefully to become an RDN, as a registered dietitian nutritionist.
Nice.
And there's many fields I could fall into that. And I don't know, maybe one day I can become a sports nutritionist or a nutritionist in the medical field. It offers a lot of pathways at which I can follow. So that's what I'm planning on right now.
Sounds like an awesome plan. Best wishes to you on that. And as we wrap up, you got a big game against Montpelier tomorrow. Both teams undefeated in the BBC. So wish you well as well.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, let's get to our second senior spotlight today.
We want to welcome Archbold senior Sonny Phillips to our senior spotlight. Sonny, how we doing this afternoon?
Great. How are you guys?
We're great. Hey,
Thank you.
Sonny, let's get right started here. Let's go back to when you started your basketball playing. How about when did you start playing the game, and who was your biggest influence at that time?
I started playing from the time I can remember. I always grew up with my brother and sister playing basketball. My dad always coached them throughout their young age days, and I was always the manager. So I had a ball in my hands as much as I possibly could. I could never stay home alone because I was so young, so I had to go whether I wanted to or not. So my biggest influence, I would probably have to say, would be my whole family.
Nice.
My dad and mom always took me to these far tournaments all the time, paid for all my AAU stuff, and my brother and sister just always pushed me throughout my whole life to always be the best person I could be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's for sure. What, Sonny, what do you feel are your greatest strengths as a player?
My greatest strengths are, I think, my basketball IQ. I can really see the floor better than most people around the area, I would say, and I think that is really good for a point guard to have. So,
Ooh, a smart point guard is a coach's delight.
yep.
If we were to ask Coach Frank, hey, describe Sonny's style of play, what do you think he'd say?
I would think probably like fast and controlled. I think he likes how controlled I am with the ball. He knows that if a team is pressing, I can get the ball up the floor, and it's very hard to stop. So I would say probably controlled and relaxed.
And if you were going to challenge, or maybe he challenged you, I don't know, but a game of horses on the line for a steak dinner, who's winning that contest?
Definitely me.
I like it.
Whoa, I want to see that contest because I know Coach Frank. He'll let him up there too, so it'll be interesting. Hey, Sonny, you remember your first varsity start for the Blue Streaks?
I do. Ottawa Glandorf
Gee, I knew you'd remember that, and I'm telling you right now, where was that game at?
at Ottawa Glandorf.
The Supreme Court, and I'll tell you what, not too many teams go in there and win, and we know that for sure, don't we, Dave?
I don't, but maybe you do.
We had a couple of good ones, but it's fun. There's no better place to play than the Supreme Court.
Yep.
And you know what, Sonny? I remember for that game, you're a freshman. Archbold had a bunch of injuries or illness or whatever, and Coach Frank, you're on the JVs. He had to bring you up, and
Yep.
you were the only point guard pretty much left, and you played all 32 minutes.
Yep.
In my recollection of that game, you were solid against that pressure. 3 turnovers.
Yep.
Wow. And I'll tell you what do you think? What did you take out of that experience?
I think it was a really good challenge for me. Going in there with Colin White, Ohio State player, it was a lot of nerves. I've never been so nervous for a basketball game in my life. I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me to bring the ball up against such a tough defense, but after that I thought, man, maybe I can do this.
Yeah. Well, I think you've followed up on that pretty well. What? Let's kind of see what some favorites are. Do you have a favorite NBA team or player that you like to watch?
I really like Kyrie Irving. He's point guard. He's shifty. He's really fun to play. He knows the game well, and I think if I had to watch someone, it'd be him.
Yeah. And your jersey's number 1. Is that correct?
Yep.
And is there a certain significance as to why you chose that number?
Yes, my grandfather actually passed away on the 1st, so ever since that, I've always wanted to be number 1. So
Okay.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Sonny, looking at your basketball career, you mentioned some guys. Who have you looked up to in your career as far as maybe around the area, people that you want to try to emulate?
definitely Cade Brenner. He is a great leader. He's a lot of fun to play with. So he's just a great person overall. He's always been a good friend, a good person to everyone on the court, everyone on the team, and such a great leader. So probably him, yeah.
Well, you know what? I've had the pleasure of watching you way back when. I was my last year of coaching, and you were about a fourth grader.
Yep.
And you were in our Super Streak program.
Yep.
And I said, as I watched that Super Streak program, I said, there's a young man that's got some skills. I mean, he could be a really good point guard. And you know what? I think we've seen that develop. And that was fun watching you way back there. And you were a little snide.
Yeah.
Little snide. You had different hair, too.
Yep.
But
Very different hair. I've had a lot of different hair throughout the years, so.
well, I hear your hair is a model for a lot of people in this community, young
Yep.
kids.
Well, let's talk about that. If Sonny, if you could give the younger kids of Archbold or any young player some advice based upon what you know at this point, or maybe advice you wish you had received at that age, a younger age, what might that be?
Definitely never to give up and always give 100%. Just do what you love and do it at the best you can and always give 100%.
Do you have a favorite song you have to play pregame maybe that might get you pumped up or psyched?
I'm not a big music guy. I like to keep it silent. I like to talk to myself through my head and just get myself focused throughout the games.
Nice. I like that myself. Sonny, as I watch you play the game, I mean, you are very good at getting the ball into the middle. I mean, you can get off the dribble, you get in there, you can finish, or you can dish out. Where did that come from? Where did you learn how to get yourself into the middle? Where did that all come from, the desire to do that?
I think just like my brother actually teach me just that quick first step. Like he showed me a good crossover or a good jab step, and people either have to see I can go with my right hand or my left, and I can always get through the middle through that. So I would say my brother teach me that quick first step to get in there, and it's hard to guard. So.
Well, another thing I like about your game, the Streaks have been seeing a lot of zone defenses here of late. But you know what you do awfully well, and maybe you don't realize it. You fake a pass to make a pass, or you fake a pass to shift the zone, and that gets you an opportunity to get that driving range, and you do that quite well.
Yep, I love watching the defense jump.
Yeah, and where'd that come from? That's just Coach Frank getting in your case about it?
He's always said to fake a pass to make a pass.
Yeah, he heard that from someplace. I know that. Because we preach that a lot, and I still preach it.
What about once your days here at Archbold are complete, Sonny? What's in your future?
Whatever comes to me, any college offers that I get, I'm gonna really think hard about it. And if I have a future in basketball, then I have a future in basketball.
Well, that's awesome. And Sonny, we certainly appreciate taking your time this afternoon to share with us. And again, I enjoy watching you play. I always have, and we want to continue to wish you and your teammates the best as you continue this season, Sonny.
Thank you very much, guys.
Want to thank again our sponsors for Hoop Chat, D&G Welding of Archbold, 445-5751. Contact them for all your welding needs. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, a trusted technology partner. It's Innovatech with a K, solutions.net, where you can contact them at 419-445-8088. S&W Mills of Archbold, for all your animal bedding needs, 419-445-5206, S&W Mills. And BSN Sports. The heart of the game is BSN Sports for top-notch fan gear, personalized uniforms, everything your team needs to succeed. You can contact them for all those above items. Thank you to our sponsors for Hoop Chat.
Today we want to touch on some area alumni from our schools who are playing collegiately, and we're fortunate to have a number of guys and girls who have moved on to the collegiate scene. Let's just talk quickly about the gentlemen who are playing. Jagger Landers, he's an Antwerp grad playing at the University of Findlay. Antwerp and Coach Billman also have Landon Brewer, who is a freshman down at Ohio Christian University. Wayne Trace's Brooks Lockoff is at Ohio Dominican, and unfortunately Brooks had an injury, so he's on the old proverbial red shirt at this point. At Lords, we have a couple local alums. Nick Boyevich out of Swanton and Caden Cruz out of Napoleon are on that squad, and they're having a real good season. Over at Angola at Trine, Evan Lumbreezer from Evergreen playing for Evergreen grad Brooks Miller, as well as Archbold freshman Cade Brenner is also on the roster. And finally, on the men's side, at Defiance, Fairview's Jeffrey Smith makes up a spot on their roster. So, again, if you're out and about and you want to, watch some of our area alums play some men's hoops, get out to one of those games. And Doug, why don't you give us some of the ladies who are playing?
Yeah, a couple of the ladies from the area, Emma Pedroza from Napoleon and Anna Gray from Bryan, are both down at Lords in Sylvania there. Emma has had a really great career. She's only a junior, and she's already over 1,000 points in her career. That's fantastic. Looking at a couple of young ladies over at Bluffton University, Madison Brown from North Central, and Kayla Prigge from Patrick Henry are playing for the Beavers. And then Kendallyn Crickle from Defiance is also playing for Trine for the Thunder.
Well, that's an impressive list, and what you really have to do is give these young people a lot of credit. Number one, they were good enough from a high school standpoint to be recruited and end up on a collegiate roster, and that's not an easy thing to do. The typical high school kid, I want to play college basketball, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and you give these kids a lot of credit, and on top of that, all they have to do from an academic standpoint is crucial too.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, I think you got to give these kids extra props for wanting to go on collegiately, not only academically but athletically as well. Because you know what, it's time consuming, and I think it's great that these area kids have had the opportunity. There may be some other ones maybe we didn't catch. If there is, please let us know by emailing us or texting us.
Well, we want to welcome to our VIP segment today Jagger Landers. Jagger's a 2022 Antwerp grad, and he's one of those area alums who has ventured on to play collegiate basketball. He's a junior currently at the University of Findlay. Jagger, hey, welcome to the show today.
Hey, thank you. Thanks so much. I'm glad to be on. Thankful for you guys having me.
Great, and it's our pleasure. Boy, Your Oiler team is really off to a really good start, 16-1 and top of the GMAC. What do you think is the key to the season to date?
Yeah, we've kind of been blessed with all around with a lot of talent in a lot of different spots, and we've also been blessed with a lot of bodies. I mean, we have 11, maybe even 12 capable guys of being on the floor. And as hard as that sounds, as being able to play all those bodies, we find ways to cycle in and out. I mean, you got to know that you can give it your all and get yourself tired essentially while getting your opponent tired, that you have somebody stepping up right behind you, getting ready to sub you out. And then same thing, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes goes by, and kind of just building up this effect of tiring the other team and making them reach into their bench like we do. But showing up every single game with the same mindset that it's the most important one. We have a game on Thursday that's going to be pretty tough. We have a game Saturday that's going to be even tougher. I mean, showing up every single day and being able to give it your all for everyone next to you is kind of how we've built this little motto going. Now, we didn't know how good we were going to be coming into this year, but we've kind of built a little bit of a foundation in the 16-1, and we're getting into the hardest part of our season, and everyone's kind of recognizing us now. But we've showed up every single day consistently. And, you might say, oh, shots are falling for them, but we're 17 games in, and 15 of those 17, or maybe even you could say all 17, we've hit tough shots. We've full court pressed every team. We've sped them up. We've won a lot of these big games on the road, and we just need to keep those mindsets up just to keep going and finish off the season these last 11, 12 games.
Well, it's been a fun team and squad to watch for sure. We may get back into that, but let's go back. Back to your Antwerp days. You were really part of some really good archer teams. So, kind of give us a quick rundown as to the teams you played on and maybe the accomplishments of those teams.
Yeah, I guess it's probably been about 6 years when I started playing varsity basketball as a sophomore in 2020, before COVID happened. We had a solid year when I was a freshman, but I played JV. And then going into my sophomore year, we had a lot of older guys and then a few guys in my class that came up looking to have a lot of success. And we ended the year 25-1. Lost the game before they shut everything down, that COVID little thing that happened. We had an undefeated season, which was a strong one. And I was able to play with my brother then. He was a senior, Javen. And then that next season, high expectations, but we lost a lot of guys. We also went 24-2 or 23-2. Both those years we won the GMC. made it to district or regional semifinals. So we won the district, and I believe we hadn't won the district since like 1989 or something like that at Antwerp. So that was a big deal. And there were some tough teams that we had to play throughout those runs. But my role as a player just adjusted from that sophomore to junior season. As a sophomore, I wasn't really the older guy, the veteran, the guy that knew he was there. I was kind of the new guy. I was scoring points and rebounding the ball, but there was a lot more important stuff that went on that I didn't have to worry about until that next year. And then my senior year was just a little bit more special. We lost some guys again, but more guys stepped up. We were a little bit more of a powerhouse with a lot of guys with experience that time. Everyone was looking at us. I think we were favorites most of the year, to compete for the state championship. And we won the region for the first time ever for Antwerp, and that was huge. I mean, those are some days that I will for sure never forget. We lost in the regional or in the state semifinal to Tri Village. I think we lost by two or three points. But yeah, those are some special times, and every year I kind of had to adapt to a different role. Just because, more people adjust to those things, and you play these small teams, and a lot of people get sent at you. A lot of different game plans get sent at you. A lot of good coaching in the area. But yeah, that kind of built me as a player coming into where I am today.
Well, Jagger, I'll tell you what, I've always enjoyed watching you play from your high school days and, of course, at the university. But you know what? I got a question for you. You're the only person I know in this entire world that has the first name of Jagger. Where'd your parents say that came from? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so I've actually been asked this as I've gotten to college more often, just because of the uniqueness of it. But they said they found it in a book. If I remember correctly, so my dad's name's Jason, my mom's is Jamie, and then my brother's is Javen, and everyone's kind of started with a J. So they were kind of looking through a book with J names in it of some sort, and I think they came across the name of Jagger and stuck with it. And if I know correctly, I've looked it up before. I think it's just becoming a little bit more popular as the days come on. But back then, I don't know. It was fairly unique,
Well, that's sweet. I always kind of wondered that. That's pretty sweet. How about
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah.
Who or what has been your biggest influence in your career, Jagger?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I would just say early on, following, my dad was always involved in basketball. He was always a coach when I was younger, keeping me in those manager type roles, keeping me playing basketball, and then playing with my brother. I can remember when I was young. I'm 2 years younger than him, so playing up with his aged guys for Antwerp basketball, and just always playing a grade or two up and chasing those guys that were older than me, but trying to be just as competitive and trying to be better. And my dad always pushed me to be those things, and my brother always pushed me to be those things. And there just felt like there was this like sense of like responsibility just to be better. Like there was an expectation behind my name that I needed to be, better when I was at Antwerp. And my dad just kept pushing me. My mom just kept pushing me. My family was the best supporters. Everybody in the town of Antwerp was the best supporters. But as role models, lay those out when you're going through that process.
Mm-hmm.
My dad has just always been kind of by my side. So I mean, that's kind of the easy answer. But if it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't be here. That's for sure.
So as you're leaving Antwerp and you're going through the recruiting process, how was that whole process like, and just what was the reason for selecting the University of Findlay?
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing basketball throughout the spring and throughout the summer, and you're at a school like Antwerp is, you're going to these big tournaments in the cities and whatnot. And I believe it was my last AAU summer, so in between my junior and senior year. And I get phone calls after games and at the night time, whatever, in the hotels, and I get one after one of our first tournaments in the spring. Can't remember who it was, Division II school, and they text you or they call you and they're like, hey, we got a full ride scholarship. We want you to get on campus, and we'd like to offer you a full ride scholarship. And your eyes kind of widen a little bit, and then you realize, hundreds of thousands of dollars are being offered in your manner to come and play basketball somewhere. And it's just like, whoa. And it's just like a little bit of a reality check and makes you want to play just a little bit harder on every tournament. But, a lot of offers were thrown my direction in the NAI Crossroads League, and in our GMAC league in the Division II spot, and then a handful of D1s, communicating with you as well. But seeing the small knit community of some of these Division II schools, whether it's in Ohio or in Michigan, it's just a little bit different, and it's a lot more like home. It was really easy to narrow down my decision with schools because you could see the community engagement and you could see the support that's given to these small schools, and Findlay's is just a step ahead of everybody else. Crowds don't get small at Findlay. You could have a game on December 23rd and you're going to have a lot of people there. There's a lot of supporters, everyone in the area, whether it's schools, whether it's families or it's elderly people, love to show up to Findlay's games. And it was built a long time ago, a long time ago before me. And everyone knows it. Everyone knows who Findlay is if you're in the Northwest Ohio area. And it just makes everything just a little bit more special. And then the guys that come here and the guys that are recruited here are all similar. There's like a little bit of a standard coming here when it comes to, say, academics, when it comes to, say, somebody's personality and how they carry themselves. And it makes it a lot easier to get along. It makes it a lot easier to go through some of your harder times when you have people that are a lot or really similar to you. And a lot of those Northwest Ohio, I mean, we have a lot of guys from Eastern Ohio also, but it's all similar. Having similar values and builds makes it a lot easier, and it makes your decision a lot easier going through those recruitment processes.
Well, that's a good story, and understand the selection process is really important. We got to wrap this up, but you mentioned already a huge home game tomorrow night. Thomas More comes to Croy, and as you mentioned, it'll be a packed house. But for Northwest Ohio basketball fans, the shortest trip of all is up to Hillsdale on Saturday, and that's a huge game as well because both teams are in the top 10 to 15 in the country and leading the GMAC. So fans from Northwest Ohio, that's a short trip, and they'd see a great game. So Jags, we really thank you for taking the time this afternoon and really pulling for you, and wish you well.
We certainly do.
Thank you so much.
Continue the best.
We're approaching the final buzzer. Timeout. Huddle up. Hey, guys, what are your final thoughts for this week?
Well, we talked earlier about how hard it is for teams during bad weather days, cancellations, etc., to get in the gym. But we've got some big games that coaches have been preparing for. So, Doug, get us through some upcoming games this weekend.
Well, let's look at the ladies who will be going at it Thursday, tomorrow. And in the NWOAL, there's none bigger than Wauseon traveling to Patrick Henry. Those are two really good squads going to be going at it. And the early lead in the conference will be maybe up to grabs there. What do you think about that, Dave?
Well, the House of Heat will be jumping, and I've heard nothing but good things about this Wauseon squad, so it should be a great contest.
Oh, no doubt. Let's look at the Green Meadows Conference, a huge game tomorrow night. Wayne Trace going to Tinora. That should be a good game as well. And then we want to look at another one that I think is a really good matchup. Edgerton Bulldogs going to Paulding, and those two teams will match up, to try to stay in the league race, actually, for those two squads. Montpelier and the BBC. Montpelier is a huge game going to Hilltop, and we heard a little bit about Hilltop and from Libbie Baker today, and I know both those two teams with Coach Mike Baum and Troy Grimm are looking forward to that game tomorrow night.
Well, on Friday, then the guys jump back into action, and we just spoke with Coach Lymanstall and Tinora heading to Wayne Trace for a huge GMC matchup between those two squads. Doesn't get much better than the PH Patriots heading to Wauseon on Friday for huge NWOAL contest.
The Wigwam will be warm there too on Friday night.
It's nothing like a packed house at the Wigwam. Evergreen will then venture to Archbold, taking on the Streaks here in the Thunderdome. And then finally, our last game that's of content, Pettisville heading to Eden. So Friday night has a lot of big-time actions, and hopefully you'll get out and support your team.
All right, that's all the time we have today. Once again, we invite you to drop us a line, ask questions about life, basketball, funny situations you'd like these guys to talk about. We invite you to leave us messages on X at NWOH Hoop Chat. You can look us up there or email us your questions, NW Ohio Hoop Chat, all one word, NWOhioHoopChat@gmail.com. Thanks to everybody for listening to our program today and joining us for this week's edition of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And also thanks once again to our sponsors, D&G Welding and Overtech Solutions, S&W Mills, and BSN Sports. This has been a production of WMTR Sports. For Doug and Dave Krause, I'm producer Ryan Throw. We'll see you courtside.